Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for September 12th, 2016. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We had a major sell-off during Friday's session, a huge ADR day, major move all the way back to 2120. As you recall, 2120 was the key resistance level we finally pushed through back in early July. And here we are back early September, and we're finally coming back to that level for the first time. So this is, basically a couple of months here of quiet uptrending behavior, all given back in virtually one session. Now, we've been in a clear uptrending market. So just because we get one big pullback doesn't mean we're dropping big time. What I mentioned before is these pullbacks have been buying opportunities within the trend. So every time we see a major pullback like this, we've seen buying opportunities arise. So we have to see, where do we find rejection. Right now prices have seen rejection below 2112 so far, and we're right above that zone at the moment, and we could be looking at an impulse move at least back toward the midpoint of this range, perhaps somewhere back toward 2150. So that's going to be important to watch for as well. We got to see how this thing continues to play out. Obviously, ever since price got that big push down, you have 2075 here, 2066. Those are composite VPOCs there. So if you're going to reject up here, sometimes you need to come down a little bit more before you reach that zone. So we'll see how this thing shakes out early on. I do believe that once we get some sort of rejection tail, we could see a nice little bounce. That bounce could then be redefended by bears, or bulls could take the ball and run with it to new highs. We'll see. All right, let's drop down into the intraday time frame. Here it is on an intraday basis. You can see here's the major sell-off we saw last week. Big time sell-off throughout Friday's market. Huge move down, right? And now you see that prices are just holding at lows. So here's the Sunday open. Sunday evening, boom, two sell-offs away from the close. Price just kind of sat on 2100. You can see this thing right here just kind of needle up, and then boom, now we're seeing a little bit of a move. We're seeing price push back above 2106, which is VWAP. So right now we're seeing a few things that could lead to a little bit of a reversal, but 2114 is very important as being the previous week's close. I would say if price pulls back here, 2106, that area, that could be a zone where bulls want to defend and try to squeeze it up toward the third standard deviation, which is 2127. At the moment, given the major sell-off we've seen, typically speaking, you see price build out a digestion at these lows. That could certainly be the case if price cannot push through 2114s. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Here's crude. Let's bring up a daily time frame here. What we've seen out of crude here recently is that price continues to trade within its developing triangle type pattern. This pattern here has been building out. And I mentioned before, once we saw this low here and we started to see it push higher, I thought, you know what, this is starting to look really nice here for a coiled up pattern. And we're probably going to see a little bit more chop back and forth, because if you see right here at the apex of this triangle, you're seeing composite value, you're seeing micro composite value, and you're seeing price just chop back and forth around those two key metrics. You're likely going to see that play out until expansion occurs. Once we do see expansion, it's going to be a move of about 10 to 13 handles in the direction of the break. We're watching 43s here, we're watching 49s here. Until then, we could see further back and forth and chop activity. Let's take a look at the intraday time frame. Here's crude oil in the intraday. This one broke down below 45.60. That's an MCV as well here, and it's now chopping around 45. It's a big time key level. So right here we're just seeing a little bit of back and forth action down at these lows as this thing just chops back and forth. It's more of a fade the edges type of morning so far. So if price pops down here to new lows, you're likely going to see it fade up. If price pushes up above these highs, you're likely going to see it fade down. That's likely the path here until proven otherwise. Breaking back above 45.60 could get this thing rallying toward 47s. Failure to hold 44.60 basically, not bouncing back up from that zone, could leave this thing back toward the previous low of 43.84. So right now, not a whole lot to go by other than watching the developing profile here and looking to fade the edges back toward value. This is the gold chart. Now let's take a look at the daily time frame of gold. Here we are. Basically, gold has moved very nicely off of this inside pattern, right? Very nice clear trading range. Here's 1306, a nice rally. We were looking for 1360 to 65 primarily, and we got to 5740. Once we got to 5740, we saw signs of rejection above 52s. We were looking for a pullback to 1331, the midpoint of that range. So we had 30 to 34 as a zone to watch, and price has now reached that zone. So this is important here, because if there's any failure to hold back above 1331, we could be looking at a continuation right back toward 1306. I still believe these tests in this LVN should be defended by bulls, but as soon as they fail to hold 1306, there could be a major push all the way back across the range to these other key levels down below. So on a swing basis, we're right in the middle of that larger key range. We have just rejected back down. I still believe that the best opportunities, the best odds are at the edges of the range. So again, we got to be patient here and look for a pushback, especially after we just saw this move rally and then we saw this move come back to our targets. Now we have to see what's going to happen from there. All right, let's take a look here at the NQ now. So lastly, the NQ shows that we see a big time sell-off Friday, a huge move, and we have a key level right here at 46.25, and that currently is the overnight low. So price has dropped even lower than Friday's low, reached that 46.25 key level, and is now bouncing right back toward the previous low and the previous close. Those are going to be very important levels between 65 and 67 to watch throughout most of the day. As I mentioned with the ES here, we have a very nice impulse move. So that high right there, that high basically 48.39.5 down to this low of 46.25, you can get a very nice key range off that that impulse move. We'll be looking for a move right back toward the middle of that range if this tail continues to materialize throughout the day. So we could be looking at a nice snapback move back up, and then this could be the key range that takes us home for a little while, at least heading into the rest of September. Now, lastly, looking at the intraday time frame here, what you'll see is that price basically dropped throughout Friday's trading, and very similar to the ES, pushed down into that key level and just held. Lots of absorption on that key level, 46.25. We've seen price rally through value now, through VWAP. So very similar to the ES. Previous close, previous low, very important here. Price pulls back to value. This isn't a zone where bulls are want to defend and squeeze through these highs. First shot at seeing 46.90. Any failure to get above 46.65 here implies further weakness, and we could be looking at another round of weakness ahead. So those are the two levels to watch as we head into the rest of the session. All right, we'll see how this plays out the rest of the week. Good luck, trade well, and happy Monday.